Hi everyone, Tom Slivick. Welcome to TSPN's News for today. And I have with me John Plasse, Supervisor John Plasse. How are you doing, Supervisor Plasse?
Good, Tom. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. You know, the other day at your Tuesday meeting, you had a very interesting topic on the board, and it was a topic just for discussion. I think there was possible action for what staff might do to bring it back later.
Right.
Okay.
And possibly scheduling a public hearing to adopt an ordinance.
Okay. So I found it was interesting. I taped it. It's on TSPN, so people that would like to see it, or if you don't get TSPN, people don't, tell them they can see it at YouTube or our website, and it's going to be something on the Board of Supervisors speak to rural dwellings. And I found it very interesting. How do we tease this? And we'll take a break and then we'll come back. Why don't you do that?
Okay. I'll try to do my best tease.
Okay.
Through the Public Works Committee, we became aware of a provision that's already existing in the California Housing Code. It's been there for 20 plus years, called the LDRD, or it stands for Low Density Rural Dwellings Building Code. And it allows a county to authorize the construction of rural dwellings, and they in areas where services are less available and or not foreseen to be available anytime soon.
Okay. To me, that sounds like almost all of upcountry, you know, Ted Novelli's area up there by Pioneer and stuff.
There's a large portion of that.
Not a lot of services available up there, and certainly with large acreages, if that's what people are on, or large enough to be like 5 or 10, you know, something like that, that would qualify as rural density development?
Right, low density rural dwellings, but many counties throughout the state of California, Ventura County, Butte County, Mendocino County, Humboldt County, I can go down the list, have all adopted this code countywide.
Okay.
So
we're going to take our break, and when we come back, we'll find out about what these other counties have adopted and what it is that we're proposing or talking about this time. So stay with us right here on TSPN.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.
Hi everyone, and welcome back. Tom Slivick with Supervisor John Plasse. John, let's just jump right in. I think there's maybe two things that are in that what was being discussed last Tuesday. One thing was people that maybe have built stuff not, you know, will build a 2 code, not the code or whatever, but that
didn't get permits,
bootleg stuff, didn't get you know, the proper permissions, if you would, to build, and therefore bring out an inspector. When you pull a permit, the inspectors come out and make sure all the work is done right. And so they did the stuff on the QT, and now maybe they would like to get compliant. How does that affect them?
Well, it's really one of the ancillary benefits of this limited density rural dwelling ordinance that we're talking about providing, because that ordinance would allow us to allow construction of new dwellings to an earlier building code. Back in the day when maybe you didn't need the humidity sensor on your bathroom exhaust fan or its switch, so that when the humidity reaches a level, it automatically turns on.
Okay, I think maybe I'm not attacking it at the way that would make it the clearest. Let's go to let's come back. Let's circle back to the problem I posed, and let's talk to it like the new code, or the relaxed code, that if you put the LDRD ordinance, I guess, into effect, what kind of codes would we come up with?
Just for the public's, let me try to explain to the public.
That's
what we want. And every year, or excuse me, every 3 years, Amador County has to adopt the then adopted state building code standards. Every 3 years, the state comes up with a new set of building codes. The counties have to adopt them, or something more stringent than what the state has adopted. And we have had repeated instances lobbying at the state level for them not to require things like, one of the latest was the requirement that any new home had to have fire sprinkler system put in, like in a commercial kitchen or something, but now you have to have sprinklers sticking out of the ceiling to irrigate your home in the event of a fire. Right. Those are the kinds of things that many rural counties lobbied against at the state level, but the state bureaucrats said, nope, we want this, it's going in our building code, and you must adopt it and therefore enforce it. The limited density rural dwelling ordinance allows for us to allow those buildings that fall under the guidelines of that ordinance to be built to an earlier building code standard, say 1978, 1985.
Okay.
Back in 1978 and 1985, it was believed that those building codes were sufficient to provide adequate protection for health, safety, and life and limb back then, but as many bureaucracies go, now they're no longer adequate in the eyes of our state bureaucrats. So this allows you to allow an ordinance to allow an owner builder to build to an earlier building code standard.
Okay, now that's a owner builder.
Correct. This is only for owner builders.
All right. Now, a lot of people might think, okay, a lot of spec homes are built as like owner builder, and then sold, and then do it again.
You are correct. That's the way that things operate a lot of the time. But this ordinance does not allow spec homes to be built one after another by the same contractor and sell them into the open marketplace. It does allow for an owner builder to hire a contractor to build this dwelling, under their owner builder basis.
Because
but not spec homes, not big subdivisions, nothing like that is allowed to be built under this ordinance.
Okay. So, and I believe from what I heard at the meeting, it would be as if someone did this, they could only do 2 buildings in 5 years?
Correct. The maximum of 2 permits to any one individual in a 5-year time frame. So it regulates out that opportunity or loophole, one might call it, for a spec home builder to just keep building spec homes and selling them and build the next one and so on.
And be very prolific at it.
Right.
Okay. All right. So it would seem like, is there a year that Amador County is looking at then to
as far as an earlier building code?
Picking a code?
I think we were looking at somewhere in the mid-'80s. I don't believe we have nailed down a specific earlier building code, because there's some things in some of those building code revisions that we may want to keep in place that we do recognize as a direct benefit to life, limb, and health and safety issues. There's other things that have been put into place, such as I mentioned the sprinklers, and earlier I mentioned the humidity sensor on a bathroom exhaust fan switch. Those types of things have just gone regulation overboard, and it's the kinds of things that I think impede people from going forward with building in many instances.
Okay. How about materials when an owner builder would build? Does this give some relaxation to the materials that are being built, the kind of windows, or once again, is it just because you would be taking it back to, say, the earlier code?
Right. Whatever earlier code that you adopted would govern the building standards and/or materials that are to be used. But for instance, there's another code provision that all the unincorporated area of Amador County has to comply with, and that's a CAL FIRE code that is the 7A building standards, and it has to do with different size attic vents so that embers from a neighboring forest fire don't get drawn into your attic and therefore catch your house on fire. The flammability of the siding materials used on a house in the unincorporated area are governed by that regulation. And I guess I look at it that it's not governed within city limits when oftentimes you have buildings that are 10 feet apart. If they've got a 5-foot setback on the side yards, you can have this house catch on fire and the one 10 feet away isn't required to build to 7A building standards regarding the flammability of the exterior of the structure. But the house in the rural area that might be out there, on 40 acres has to apply to those building standards. So I think this LDRD helps to relax some of the regulations that maybe were passed under the auspices of a one-size-fits-all for the state of California, but local government has a better opportunity to craft things more suitable to their specific situation.
Okay, I think that might be a good place to take our break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more on this LD-RD ordinance change, or at least the opening dialogue for possibilities of this to happen in Amador County. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Supervisor John Plasse.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.